guys, you're with HUNAR TV and thank you for being with us on yet another exciting episode of HUNAR CHARCHA. Now today we're going to be talking about the tokens that have taken the art world by storm, quite literally. The non-fungible tokens. Well, you'll understand this better if I say NFT. Yes, NFTs is what we're hearing so much about, but still don't understand it enough. Still don't understand how it operates and why is it specific to the arts and creative world. And can this be the first time the NFT creative market of the arts community drive other sectors to jump onto the bandwagon as well? Is this history in the making that we're looking at right now? And we have some very important voices to answer all of these questions for us. We have with us the buyer at Christie's who bought the Beeple work for a record-breaking amount of $69 million. The founder of Metaverse, Anand Venkateswaran here. We have with us Lord Meghnad Desai, very well-known British economist and former Labour Party member, to answer some of those questions on how are traditional markets reacting to this new phenomenon that we have in the market. Hollywood actor Laurence who's now an NFT artist as well. He's making these beautiful, tiny, mini digital capsules of works of art with voiceover on them, and they're really lovely pieces of art in themselves. And Lurdh Allam, Dubai-based gallerist of art Smiley, and one of the first in the Middle East region now who's decided to venture into the NFT art digital space as well. Thank you all of you for being with us here. Anand, first of all to you, many congratulations for this record-breaking buy, and it's historic at so many fronts because it's the most expensive work of art Beeple by any living artist, and it's also for the first time Christie's has entered the NFT area. I mean, this was a transaction of $69 million, which was with the NFT here. How does it feel, first of all? First reaction of being part of that historic list and also sending out a very strong message to the market.
To be honest, this happened a few months ago, but we're still trying to come to terms with it because we didn't set out to make history in that sense, right? I mean, we had a few ideals about how we approach art and how we approach the crypto space in general. And that's what led to us trying to acquire this piece in the first place. You're right, it is historic for several reasons. It is the third most expensive piece ever by a living artist. But what drew us to it was, one, the narrative that the Beeple 5000 piece represents, right? It's a very digital native piece. We felt it was a metaphor for this generation. Since if you look at the art on display there, start with the first ever piece and then work your way through, you can see the journey of that artist, right? I mean, and this almost spiritual level of commitment to this one thing that he did day in and day out, right? He didn't miss a single day for 5,000 days, his sick days, his healthy days, good days, bad days. You can even identify a couple of them when his wife was in labor. He didn't miss even that day. So, so that is one. The other is that whether you can start anywhere, and if you keep at it, you reach the end of the rainbow, whether it's at the end of a month or a year or 13 years. So we felt that was a very powerful message. That's what made us fall in love with Beeple in the first place when we acquired his 20 single editions back in December. The other part was that this is the very first NFT, purely digital work of art, an NFT which is being auctioned off by Christie's, which is a 230-year-old institution. And that sends out a very powerful message, doesn't it? I mean, making a course change is extremely difficult for established institutions. It's almost like trying to steer an ocean liner. It takes a lot of time. But considering the fact that the NFT space itself and art is a phenomenon no older than a year, for Christie's to have pivoted so quickly and to have embraced this, we thought was powerful. So that's kind of why we did that. Of course, how do we feel about it? We are overwhelmed, but we are happy that we brought it home to the metaverse where it belongs.
Cool. And we're also, as someone who's an art lover, I also am very overwhelmed by what you've done here in making this record. But yes, Lord Desai, please go ahead. And in your understanding, what does it mean now? Does it further pique curiosity here of what NFTs are and how they function and why they're so important in the creative world? Because this is art we're talking about, but there is NFT videos and NFT music.
Well, I'm not an artist of any kind, but what I have read a lot about art history and things like that, and every innovation has been not understood as to how anybody can take this seriously. Among cubism and things like that, people will say, "Well, this cannot be called painting. This is rubbish," and things like that. And so I think when people create something which is completely new,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I mean, there is a curiosity and there's a disbelief. And I think the disbelief and curiosity almost match each other, because I'm sure there are more than 69 million people out there saying, how could anybody buy anything like this sort of thing, because people will not understand. It will
True.
probably take a generation of the younger people who
Mm-hmm.
would be very at home with the digital sort of products. And then we will begin to see that this is indeed a new family of art products or whatever you call it.
Right.
And
But
so we'll have to wait. So we are at a historic moment. He's quite right. Historic
mhm,
moment. This is the first thing, the first kind of, the snake which has brought an
right.
apple. And, uh,
So, Lurdh, for you, this is also going to be stepping into an interesting world, even though you've been dealing with physical art as an established art gallerist in Dubai. But this would mean entering an entirely new world of the digital, where you're not really looking and feeling at the works of art physically. But you feel strongly enough about the NFT art market, about the NFT art community to be taking this risk or to be taking this leap of faith to enter this world?
I mean, I feel I see it in a positive perspective because,
Okay.
we've been into the traditional world for many, many years. But in fact, I have to say that only 20% of those traditional artists are known or seen, but 80% of them are unknown, unseen. But
Okay.
by bringing into the digital world, and a
Yeah.
lot of people can be able to access these digital works globally. And it's creating a complete new dimension for the lot of people to come in and showcase their works without much support from the traditional galleries or individual dealers. So they themselves can showcase.
Laurence, for you, it's been an interesting journey because you, of course, as an established actor, as an established Hollywood actor here as well, has been heavily into the film medium. But a lot of your films are also very closely associated with the visual arts and with music as well. And you've been in the process of making a biopic on your father, who was a very, very famous, well-known art critic. And you started making these video capsules on paintings by with voiceovers and narration of his writings. And those capsules have now been introduced into the NFT art world. Do you think this has been a very organic journey? And how has it been so far, since it's only been very few months on this?
Yeah, a few months in NFT, I'm sure Lurdh knows, feels like a few years.
Okay.
It moves so quickly. And it's just been such a fun journey. Honestly, it's been like, I was kind of working in the way that I do, doing collaborations with spoken word poetry and fine art for as a hobby for quite a while. Like, obviously, as you say, I'm a professional actor and trained in the classics.
So touching in its majesty, this city now doth like a garment wear the beauty of the morning, silent, bare. Ships, towers, domes, theatres, and temples lie open unto the fields and to the sky, all bright and glittering in the smokeless air. Never did the sun more beautifully steep in his first splendor valley, rock, or hill. Ne'er saw I, never felt a calm so deep. The river glideth at his own sweet will. Dear God, the very houses seem asleep, and all that mighty heart is lying still.
when we were at drama school, and a lot of the work that we did in British theatre is working with text and working with poetic language. And that's something that I deeply missed when it came to the film industry, because those sorts of films are rarely made. Like I've done one period film, but yeah, period films, that they're not, I don't know, they're just not as much made as sort of genre films or whatever. So I would work on my own in terms of spoken word poetry, working with like romantic poetry, doing readings of like Baudelaire and gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Yeah, I mean, Flowers of Evil was something that I was reading today, but also Wordsworth and Emily Dickinson.
Okay.
And then I started sort of putting these together with fine art paintings and animating the paintings with like other elements like videos or 3D masks to get certain 3D effects, and making like a scene out of it, like you would get from a film, like the opening shot of a film or something like that, but working with paintings.
Right.
And my narration over the top was like spoken word poetry. So it was just a combination of my passions. It was, you know, film, painting, and spoken word poetry together to create a piece of video art. And there's no other medium in the traditional fine art world where that would have worked. Absolutely. As a presentation.
Right.
Or as something that people could buy and sell. It just it would not have worked. So NFTs enabled me to work in this way. And then I was just so lucky to get embraced by the community in the way that I have. I think that there's a lot of established actors or people in the film industry that are kind of sitting on the sidelines and just like watching. And I just dove in because I kind of understood crypto and blockchain technology. Actually, for a few years, I was just an investor. I just had some, you know, I wasn't a evangelical about it or anything. I wasn't, you know, as passionate or tech savvy as some people are, but I was an investor. I had a portfolio. Right. And I educated myself on it over the years. And then when I heard about NFTs, that blockchain technology, that this was a use case for blockchain technology in cryptocurrency, it just all made sense to me. And I started making and minting this art right away.
Not just in terms of understanding in the art world, Lord Desai, is it also understanding in the market, and also in terms of economically how this works?
Yes, I'm curious about this. It seems that you can't possess it after paying $69 million. So what can you do with it?
Anand, would you like
I can't
to answer
possess
that?
it.
Right. It's not really a physical piece that you have with you. So
yeah.
What does this ownership mean right now? I mean, you've bought it off Christie's, but define the nature of ownership for us.
Let's see. I mean, maybe we can look at it in two aspects to try and understand it better. It is a digital asset at the end of the day, and so the ownership is definite. You know, it's inalienable in that sense. The other aspect we can look at is provenance, right? I'd say 80% of the art world's resources go into establishing provenance of a piece, whether it's a historic piece or not. And so that is sort of baked in to this idea when you put a work of art or a certificate of its ownership on the blockchain. So I think using these two aspects, it must be fairly straightforward to understand. We do possess that piece; it is ours, and you know we can take it anywhere. You know, it's extremely portable in that sense as a work of art. But yeah, the possession of it is absolute.
Okay.
Yeah, and so how can somebody buy it from you?
Like a resale.
They can, like we did, they can purchase the NFT if they wanted to. Not that we sell, but yeah, that's how they buy it. It's like a transfer of digital tokens. You know, there's a digital wallet which we have in which this NFT rests. So if we sort of transfer that token to someone else, now they own it.
Yeah, and they will have to pay you real money.
Well, this is real money. We paid real money too.
Good,
yeah,
good.
they would have to pay real money.
So I think that digital token is more about defining the work of art, not about the way it's paid for.
Both, in fact. There are kinds of digital tokens, right? An NFT is a non-fungible token. It's a unique digital asset. For instance, the work of art behind me represents one unique piece of asset. It's non-fungible. On the other hand, you have digital assets like Bitcoin, like Ethereum. Ethereum is the digital asset which we used to purchase this piece behind us.
I know about those. I know about those bits because as an economist, I know. I also think that if they had not been called, Bitcoin had not been called a coin, nobody would have taken it seriously, because it is, it's something that you can only own to be able to sell it, because you can't wear it, you can't decorate your house with it. And so as economists, it has not use value, it has only exchange value. So I buy an Ethereum or Bitcoin because I want to sell it. Now you have a product which I may want to buy and keep.
Yeah.
Because I may get a real enjoyment out of possession of what you created. So that's a very different kind of token, digital token, than Ethereum or Bitcoin and things like that. So you have not done a great innovation in art, you had an innovation in crypto business, as it were, in the crypto economy.
Okay.
Guilty as charged.
If I have a Bitcoin, I can't display it in an exhibition. It's just a bunch of digits.
Right.
But this, I can see behind you.
Store of value.
Beautiful. So I mean that is thing to celebrate.
So how do you think it works as an investment in terms of returns that you get in the long run? I mean, for someone who's looking into art investment, that would be like a huge risk right now, where returns are not established.
As an investment, I think it's like any investment. It's just about getting like a good price that you think that's the right value for. I mean, when you're investing in art, you have to go with your gut. You have to go with, I mean, obviously your knowledge of art history and knowledge of contemporary art is very helpful. And, I think as a gallerist, Lurdh would probably say that, yeah, there is absolutely a way to quantify these things and you want to listen to specialists. But a large part of it as a buyer, you have to go with your gut, But what we're seeing, I suppose, is a way to organize these sort of factors that go into the checklist of what a buyer is looking at when they go and purchase, say, a multiple or an etching. If you go to auction on like a secondhand market, if you go to a Christie's auction of etchings and prints and multiples, then there's a checklist that you go through. You look at the condition, you look at the edition size, you look at the artist's signature, you look at also the importance of that specific work within the artist's oeuvre. And then you also look at, do you like it? Do you think it's visually, does it make you feel something?
This is one market where likability plays a huge factor. And it's interesting, Laurence, that you mentioned Christie's, because we were just talking about the Christie's record. Lurdh, in your view and what's happened in Christie's in the month of March with people's work here, is going to now be driving this wave? I mean, that's the thrust that one was waiting for in the NFT arts community, and now it's really going to be driving this wave.
Yeah, you definitely have those higher end sales in ETH that I guess it's the crypto punks and it's Beeple, and it's these are like household names in NFT that are getting those millions right now. There's also a number of artists that are getting up there. I don't know, basically, I'm not in the collectibles market. I'm an artist, and there's a lot of artists that I'm working with that I collect. I have 1,000 NFTs actually, that I've collected mostly from Hisset Nunk, but some of them for a decent price. So, I mean, Hisset Nunk is really an incredible movement. If you haven't heard of it, it's HICETNUNC. And it's now the biggest NFT platform in terms of daily active users and number of sales.
All right.
And it's an incredible movement because of the flexibility of the Tezos blockchain. Allows for very minimal gas fees. And so you can mint a piece for like 1 cent, or you can send a piece for about 1 cent. Whereas on ETH, that would cost anywhere between like $15 to $100.
Okay.
So you can do a lot with that sort of low gas price. And it also meant that artists were starting to mint their work for very cheap. When they would mint on ETH, it would be anywhere from like 0.1 to 1 ETH, say, would be the asking price. And then they go over to Tezos and they start off like a couple of Tezos, right? And a couple of Tezos is like about $5, whereas 1 ETH is $2,500.
Okay.
And so if you were a treasure hunter and you were very passionate about trying to find out what you thought was going to be the next gem, the next people, you don't have $69 million. You have, I don't know, $69. Let's just say that. You could go to Hisset Nunk and pick up 10 really good pieces. You would have to do your research and you would have to look a lot because there's a lot of stuff on there. There's a lot of quantity on there. And you have to dig and find out for what is the good stuff.
But Anand, do you think there would be a convergence? The concern that Lord Desai has raised, the physicality of it, so to say. Do you think there will be a convergence? Because what I am noticing is now that Christie's has jumped onto it as well, there are art galleries. These are traditional art galleries, just as traditional as Christie's can be, with physical spaces. And they're trying to open up a chapter of NFTs and have a physical space for NFTs as well. Do you see that convergence accelerating for larger acceptance?
It's already begun, Sahar, in a sense. I don't think you can put the genie back in the bottle because it's a new medium, right? Like Lord Desai said a little while ago. Even if it is less understood, it is still a new medium. And in fact, I wouldn't even go so far as to say it's misunderstood or anything of that sort. We're still at the beginning of this journey, in a sense, and the adoption has already started to accelerate. People are starting to accept the fact. I mean, digital art is a thing now. It's no longer on the fringes. That's what this particular phenomenon did. But you have exhibitions all over the world, in New York and other places, for instance, which are dedicated to NFTs, to digital art. And yeah, it's already here.
Okay. Lord Desai, do you think a positive convergence? Because as the gallerist here also said that they want to transfer their physical collection onto the NFT platform. And he's also admitted here that would require special software to do so, but it's something that is doable and you have an easier movement between two worlds.
I guess some people would be happy owning a digital NFT presentation of, let's say, a Picasso or 5 Picassos. I don't know. But a lot of people want to own something physically. They want to actually possess it and hang it on the wall. So I think, but as he said, you have a new branch, a new school, or a new sort of line of digital artwork. And it has its own rules of transferability. And as I guess there will be differently valued objects like this, which people will buy. There will be different fashions in it. But that's a good thing. All innovations are good. And let's see how the market functions. The next one may sell for more or less. We don't know. But at least a thing has been, a direction has been opened, because the price is the one attracts attention. Had it sold for $10, nobody would have taken it seriously. But because it sells for $69 million, people take it seriously. I mean, a lot of artwork, art market is like that. I mean, the thing has merit, I have no doubt. All I've seen is the television, Zoom pictures of it. But if it creates a whole new genre of ways in which people can express themselves, and this could not have been possible, in the 50 years ago, when I wrote my PhD in 1963, it was on the first computer ever created. It occupied 3 big rooms, and it had less power than what is in your wristwatch or on your phone. But so this is several generations later, when people are much used to this sort of improving devices and improving sort of power. So it's for the future. It's for the future which is already here, but it will increase in size.
Absolutely. But Laurence, do you feel something like films can come on board for NFT art as well? I know there is NFT music. Do you think commercial films, Hollywood films, can be on the NFT platform? Do you think that kind of convergence will eventually happen?
Firstly, I think it's inevitable. And I don't know if you've mentioned Quincy Jones's new platform on Tezos blockchain. Have you?
Oh, no, I haven't.
It's called One Of.
Okay.
I think is it oneof.com or .io? Let me check.
And this would then be NFT music.
Yeah, so that's NFT music, but he's the biggest player in entertainment who's come in so far, Quincy Jones, and he's bringing with him Whitney Houston's.
Absolutely, no, we're familiar with his work, yeah.
And NFT art is the perfect example of it just working better. And, this real use case that people can utilize in their lives, that artists can actually make a full-time living out of. There are people who are making a full-time living out of creating their art and selling them as NFTs and doing business in this way, that it's proof. And it like never before, really, because there was so much speculation. It was so much a speculative market, back in 2017 and 2018, 2019, particularly when everything was going down after the big ICO boom. It was kind of something that I personally didn't talk to my friends about, that I was invested in it and that I had a portfolio, because they would all be like, isn't that like some scam or something like that? And so I just didn't bother. And it was all talk, and there was just so much talk happening around the space. But then when NFTs started to come into play, and there was this real thing that you could do with it, that anybody could do with it, and actually come from the traditional world. There's a lot of people that have educated themselves in the last few months about blockchain and cryptocurrency so that they can get into NFTs.
Okay.
Because that's just how they can actually use it. So I think all those factors combined will mean that, the film industry coming in is inevitable. And I think it's already starting to happen. Okay. Particularly for the independent film sector. I mean, I know the studios are coming in with some releases and NFTs. Like there's talk about, I don't want to say the name, but like a big studio film releasing some NFTs, like clips from the film as NFTs. Saturday Night Live released an NFT. Okay. And of course there's interest, because it's very popular. And so people, investors and speculators will be like, well, this is going to be worth something in the future because everybody knows about it.
Anand, since you own your platform Metaverse, which is involved with NFTs and buying in NFTs here, you have bought other pieces, other items as well, which are not part of the art world necessarily. So do you think you're in here as an investor, a buyer, or a collector into a new world for setting the ground for everyone else?
I actually am the steward of Metaverse. In a sense, Metaverse is it's a very simple it's a very simple entity, right? It's not a fund in the traditional sense of the word. It represents MetaCoven's investments and interests in the NFT space. That's pretty much it. So just that one person's investment, it's all his money. My job is to be a truffle sniffer, trying to uncover these diamonds in the rough, trying to look for interesting NFTs and NFT-based projects to engage with, to tell stories about, and to invest in. So that's what I do. But you're right, it's not just about art. Art has made news, and art has excited us and sort of transformed the way we look at this space over the last year or so. But Metaverse's interest in NFTs began in way back in 2017. I say way back as if that's a really long time, but it is in crypto terms. It is. Crypto is like dog years, right? It moves very fast in that sense. So we started with buying virtual land. That was his first purchase. We missed the CryptoKitties phenomenon and other collectibles and stuff, but land somehow spoke to us because the idea of property rights and ownership is not absolute, is not equal all over the world, and especially when there's this wave of authoritarianism all over the world. When you're able to see that something that you purchase is inalienably yours, can't be taken away from you, can't be bullied out of it, that's a very powerful message. So sort of something that struck close to his heart. So we bought a lot of virtual land, and then we moved on to interesting collectibles, like the Delta Time 111 F1, which is the first digital Formula One car, which they launched as an NFT. Why that's interesting is because it's like trying to get your hands on the first Model T Ford or something like that, right? So iconic. So basically, we go after these things which feel culturally significant in this new metaverse that we're exploring. So we have a bunch of those. Art we began in 2020 actually. In February of 2020, we started really getting deep, and the reason for that is, for me personally, it was transformative because it broke a lot of conditioned beliefs that most of us have, right? The average Joe doesn't have access to art. We are influenced by it on a daily basis, right? Subconsciously it affects us all around. But when you want to engage with it, you're sort of kept at a distance, right? You somehow feel that it's locked up in an ivory tower, or that it's meant only for people with means. That completely transformed in the NFT space because it's not just the art that you're looking at, but the access to artists. I've forged these absolutely amazing relationships with over 100 artists, 150 artists, and that has completely changed my own sense of self-worth. It's like I'm finally worthy of engaging with art, of being a patron of art. And what we've done since is to try and propagate this feeling to people that have the same background as us, that look like us, that talk like us. So that's what this journey is about.
That resonates with us here because we started HUNAR TV. The HUNAR TV tagline is making arts accessible. So it's about making all of these video capsules accessible on your digital space, which is about the process of creation, be it in visual arts, music, performance, theater. It's all making it accessible and better understood to the larger world here. Lord Desai, given the fact that right now, when we talk about NFTs, it's still largely dealing with the creative space, with the creative sector, with the creative market. Do you think that this could be for the first time that an art market or a music market or the creative sector could ride the wave for other sectors to come on board, such as real estate and other markets as well?
Well, I think one of the things is that blockchain is a very powerful technology, and it has already transformed the way people do many things, like business and so on. Because in a sense, it is like you can coordinate across space lots and lots of different participants in a process If 150 artists have taken part in creating this particular piece, call it piece because that's the only way I can describe it, then that shows that the possibilities are very, very large as to what more can be done with it. I mean, when Bitcoin was first put out in the open, some people couldn't understand it. Some people just thought it was a whole new piece of gold and so on. But then when more cryptocurrencies came, people began to realize it. Then, the blockchains are not just for that, they're for everything. And that's a very interesting idea. I call it like three-legged race, but three-legged race run by 100 people. You can have 100 people in a 99-legged race or something like that, and that I think opens all sorts of possibilities. And because it is artistic rather than just financial, that's an important thing to emphasize.
But Lurdh, for you, in terms of convincing buyers here, how is ownership exclusive? Because right now these are largely digital, and I can see the same piece artwork on my phone. I can see the same motion artworks and the video artworks on my phone, just as an owner of the artwork who's bought that artwork can see it. There's no exclusivity in ownership, though.
I mean, this is the main part of NFTs, right? You're getting that exclusivity and authentication on your name. That's where you're given a token. It's non-fungible. This is what NFT called, right? It's not exchangeable. So you have that ownership rights, and that's the big selling point compared to the traditional world. And that's where people see that they have something unique, and the immediate perception is mine, right? So this is where more people are attracted, and in the recent world with the developments, what's happening, everybody moved into NFTs. There's a big movement coming in now because with the COVID-19 and everything, people isolated and all moved into electronics. So this is one of the big changes. People are adopting, and especially the investors who has more money in, and they will see this as a big option for their investment. And one fact I have to say that NFTs really, if a traditional wood artwork, for example, if you sell $100, NFTs can sell for $200. There's a big variance in pricing as well. So there's a great benefits in its own right.
Well, I would say you can see that piece of art for sure. Just like you can see a piece of Bitcoin algorithm, but you don't own that piece of Bitcoin algorithm.
This isn't just about economics, right? The fact that all of the previous inflection points in crypto, they were based on financial tools, right? Financial instruments. Take Bitcoin, the altcoin phenomenon. Then we have the ICO boom, and then we have DeFi. All of these are characterized by financial instruments. The NFT space, on the other hand, is a cultural revolution. It's a renaissance of sort. You see this convergence of technology, of finance, because a lot of it is embedded into NFTs, because NFTs are not just in art, they're in gaming. They are in all of these virtual worlds. They are in collectibles, right? All over the space. So we've got this convergence of art, of technology, of finance, which makes it a true renaissance in that sense, which is what I think gives it its sea legs and sort of immune, if I may say so, from black swan events like market crashes and so on. There might not be a massive market for NFTs. That might ebb and wane, but I don't think you can annihilate a phenomenon like this. For instance, I'll give you a very simple example. At an individual level itself, right? If you have a bag of tokens, cryptocurrency tokens, and their value goes up and then crashes, you're essentially left with nothing. It goes down to zero. Right. On the other hand, if you have an NFT, which is, say, a work of art that you bought for $10 or $20 or $200, even if there's no market for that work of art anymore, even if there's nobody coming forward to buy it, you still have that work of art which you bought because you connected with it, right? Because you love that work of art. So that's what distinguishes this phenomenon in the NFT, this revolution in the crypto space.
That's also very similar to what we have in the traditional market. You buy that work of art you still own it. You want to sell it for certain circumstances and you can't, but you still have it. You like it. You own it. You emotionally connect to it. So it's
Correct.
It's not that go beyond. It's very relatable.
Exactly. That's my point. It's not a massive leap of faith. Yeah.
I think
that's why so many people come inside. Right?
I think this is where I think is superior to the financial tokens, like you were saying. Financial tokens have no use value at all. You can't display them anywhere or anything like that. Whereas this you can just display and you can see it, you can enjoy it. And so that is the real breakthrough in the world of tokens.
Okay.
As well as maybe a great artistic innovation, it is also an innovation in the world of tokens because it is a token with a use value.
Yeah, utility.
All right. Final question to both of you. First to you, Anand. If it wasn't for the pandemic, would the NFT market have accelerated in this manner? Because Bitcoins still took a considerable amount of time for acceptance and reposing faith in this nature of currency here. But if it wasn't for the pandemic, would the NFT space have been accelerated in this manner in just a matter of 6-8 months?
No. Quite honestly, no. It would. I mean, it would have happened eventually. It's inevitable, like I said, because it's culture driven over a period of time, for sure. But not at this rate of acceleration. Definitely not. I mean, none of us expected it. We were all sort of shocked by it. But the beauty is that a lot of people in the NFT space have been building through the bear market, in a sense. I mean, NFTs first came into the scene in 2016 or 2017, and then there was a massive 2-year bear market, which a lot of tokens crashed and all of that stuff. But and there was no interest in NFTs because they were seen as frivolous, as superfluous to the rest of these currency tokens generally, because that convergence hadn't happened yet, the utility wasn't clear, and so on and so forth. But a lot of projects had been building in the meantime, and they were ready when the market finally happened. But yeah, if not for the pandemic, this probably wouldn't have happened this quickly.
And Lord Desai, how do you think opening up and recovering from the pandemic is going to affect this market? Are we going to move along, taking it along with us, or is it just going to be dropped there after the world opens up?
Well, I did say that one thing the pandemic had done is central banks had been pushing out a lot of money into the market by buying up assets and creating money for the economy. So right now there's a lot of loose money looking for somewhere to go. And people may realize that, okay, here is an asset which is in a bull market, as it were, and it'll be possible to trade in these NFTs. And at that stage, it will follow the ordinary rules of any market. But because it is this new innovative field for people to experiment with it, you never know where we might go next. After all, people have been painting for thousands of years, but still a Picasso can come and completely shake up the market. So it's that kind of stuff. It will grow. People will have new ways of doing this, and new ways of combining people over a distance or over time or whatever it is. And I understand technology very little, as you can see, but I like what I see. So I think that there's a lot of scope ahead. But money will be tight. Very soon, money is going to be tight. By very soon, I mean in about 3-4 years, money will be tight. The markets are shaken up nowadays. When somebody in the Federal Reserve predicted that interest rate may go up by 2023, and the market crashed. So I know people are very nervous right now as to what has happened. But good luck, and I think it's a great thing. One more innovation, so let's celebrate.
Laurence, final question to you here before we wrap up. Do you think the world unlocking and opening up is then going to impact NFT, or NFT is going to go on, steer ahead strongly nevertheless, irrespective of how the pandemic fares out?
It's definitely going to be different. And I think the players are going to change. And I think that events are probably going to be a bigger factor than they were. You know, Bitcoin Miami exhibition was a big one. Also, Sabet, who is one of the biggest NFT artists, is hosting a big exhibition in Singapore for to showcase NFT art in China. So events like this that are hosted by big players in the space, and exhibitions, NFT exhibitions, you know, people hosting it, and even like cafes I can see sort of utilizing that, displaying NFTs. And I think once that starts to click in and gets utilized, it'll really take off in a whole other way, more so than people just looking at their phones and computers.
There is this idea of decoloniality, which we are able to identify with strongly, which we now realize is what we've been trying to do all along. And this is a result of a lot of work and thought from MetaGowan, and that's where we are headed. You know, the ability to identify and sort of make space for otherwise underrepresented thoughts of otherwise underrepresented subcultures within every every cultural milieu is what we're going after, is what is happening. That's practically our life's work now.
You know, there is a play by a French woman playwright. It all hangs about a painting which is completely blank. I saw it about 10 years ago. It's a lovely play. And the friendships break up because one friend can't understand why this other man has bought a completely blank canvas. So anyway, let's go for innovation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, both of you, for your time.